Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion plays The Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus, where we've been doing okay. We've gotten 5 wins in a row. The last one was a breeze. This one actually looks pretty good to begin with. Might get rid of Mom's toenail. This is the fastest 0.98 speed run I've ever had. Something's weird about this. I'm so quick for being so slow. ETP1, XTG6, little spicy, just a touch of spice by coming into this room early instead of a little bit later, but, you know, there's always the chance we get a Spirit Heart in here. We're gonna come out half a Spirit Heart behind, big freaking whoop. And yeah, I mean, within the context of Isaac, we've been doing pretty well. We've re-elevated the Zane portion of our game to get a little bit of extra, I don't know, entertainment value is probably a good way to think about it. I'll try. I did think about it. I thought about it. What were we even holding a second ago? Couldn't have been good. Oh. It's not great. I think having a bomb that we can use frequently is probably a little better, although certainly not. We could have just moved it here, but it's okay. Everything's good, honestly. Like in Isaac terms, we're kind of rolling again. I would say we're now, and I think the last episode we went the whole thing without mentioning the context of having recently lost that streak. So as far as I'm concerned, that's a good sign that we've crested. You know, we've made it past the hard part, the traumatic part maybe, where, you know, every run is contextualized within the fact that we recently lost one. So we're kind of like we're on our new thing right now. They play that song in the US? She's got a new girl now, something like that. I don't know how it goes. Look, it's kind of a half-hearted bit to begin with. It's one of those songs where I'm like, I can't remember almost anything about it, but I've probably heard it 75 times. You got a new girl now, something like that. I think it's one of those misheard lyrics, like, I wish that I was Jesse's girl, because he doesn't wish that he was Jesse's girl. He wishes he had Jesse's girl, not that there's anything wrong with either of those. See what we got here. Yo, now that's what we're talking. Right there, that's what we're talking about. I'm not gonna go to the shop there. We're gonna try for a second secret room. It wasn't there, so we're gonna leave so we can maybe get a tinted rock. And I think having an arcade would be really useful right here. We did get a luck upgrade out of that as well, so we got good stuff. Just trying to think of like other commonly misheard lyrics. There's always and I don't know how much of this is like commonplace and how much of this is an urban legend, but I always heard that a lot of people thought Purple Haze by Jimi Hendrix went, "Excuse me, while I kiss this guy." It's Kiss the Sky. Again, not that there's anything wrong with either interpretation, but trying to think of other ones that are common. I know that, like, this is a bygone anecdote that would not make any sense in 2020 with the advent of the internet and cellular telephones and so on. Thought there was something out here. We'll still play this twice minimum here. But I was listening to CBC Radio 1 as a child because I'm a character in a television program. And I remember they were like, "You remember the classic song Staying Alive?" It's a bit like our NPR in Canada, basically. You remember the classic song Staying Alive by the Bee Gees. I was going to say the Beastie Boys. Sorry, I'm still in my radio voice. But what do they say when they go, "You can try to understand"? And everybody knows now, if you're listening to this, you're about to know at least, that Barry Gibb, that's an Andy Gibb line. He goes, "You can try to understand the New York Times effect on man." But instead, people were calling in. And again, this is it's from a bygone era. Now someone would be like, "I looked it up." But back then, people were just calling in, nothing better to do on a Thursday night. Not even like in their cars, because the cell phones weren't invented then. They were calling in on their home phone. while listening to the radio and going, I think they're saying you can try to understand the New York Times a bagel man. And they probably did say bagel because it's a little piece of Canadiana. You know what I mean? Spreading cream cheese. This is a need situation, and I think we need Sack Dagger. It's just a beautiful item. I think we ignore everything else. I don't even think we play the Demon Judgment. In fact, I might go a step further and blow that sucker up, but I think I'm going to blow this sucker up instead. All I know is one sucker's getting blown up. But Sack Dagger is, in my opinion, if you were to have made a list, or if you were to consult me to help make a list of the most underrated items, we got to start here. In Isaac, I think it's conceivable that Sack Dagger is the most underrated item in the game. Or at least it's the item that's most underrated in the sense that there's the biggest difference between its perception and its actual value. Because I really think it has a high skill floor, don't get me wrong, but I think that once you get to that high skill floor, it is one of those items, not quite on the level of a Brimstone or a Mom's Knife, but close in the sense that it can allow you to win a run by itself. Oh, that's exactly what we were looking for, brother. That's exactly how I feel. Let's see what we got going on over here. We could buy a key. I would say, you know what, let's think about our future and buy Steam Sale instead. And then we got pretty lucky. And it came with a Joker card that we could use to play this Demon Judgment. I think we should, but it's a little scary. We should have 4 HP, so that's 3 full. We're just waiting on this. This is pretty much what we were here for. That's a huge get. For it to not be the payout, but still be this good is worth a lot. Okay, we'll take it. I think that it gave us all the good stats up. Where do they hope? It's a very musical episode. I've worked a lot. I've talked a lot today. We actually had way more HP than I thought we did. Oh, you know what? I think we got a Tears Down in there. But it's alright. Sack Dagger is time to put your money where your mouth is. High Speed and Sack Dagger is like being a human scalpel. I got the kind of precision. I got the fries that could cross your eyes. I don't think I've ever seen the whole movie, The Longest Yard, but I've heard Mouth quoted enough that probably I've experienced 120 minutes of its runtime, in spite of never having actually seen the film itself. I snobbed up at an early age. I think the last Adam Sandler film I unironically watched, before watching, you know, his more serious films, when I got a little older, was probably Little Nicky, which came out when I was like 12. Even when 8 Crazy Nights came out, a lot of my classmates were like hyped. They were like, I love that song where he says, 8 crazy nights. But I was like, I'm not sure about it. I personally, I thought Mr. Deeds was just sort of blasé. I've got an interesting thought for you. Will Ferrell is the millennial Adam Sandler. How do you feel about that? Why would you just run into that? Like I said, it's like being a scalpel. Will Ferrell has a very I like both of them. I do. I really do. I like Will Ferrell a little bit more than Adam Sandler, at least in terms of their work, to be honest. They both have a very similar sort of trajectory. Started at Saturday Night Live. Got famous for making movies that were pretty dumb, but very popular. And then eventually, kind of, I guess we will take Lemon Mishap, but eventually had public opinion sour a little bit, although I think I mean, obviously they both have a big audience that still, well, likes them a lot, but I would stand by that. How do you feel about that? I know I've also said that Ben Stiller is the thinking man's Adam Sandler. I've had Adam Sandler on my mind a lot lately. I do like, as I don't know Adam Sandler as a person. everything I've heard about him as a person is that he's a nice guy. And of course, everybody always talks about how, like, when he makes movies, it's basically just an opportunity for him and his friends to get together in exotic locales and have fun. And you gotta respect that. I mean, everybody's laughing because Dragon Slayer Doppelganger is like a cult classic because of how ridiculous it is. But imagine, it would take being in a nightmare world for this to have happened, because the movie is just I don't want to call it a trash fire. Let's be as nice as possible and say that it is not conventionally good. And I think Malf would accept that as well. It's incredibly entertaining, but simultaneously completely incoherent. And stuffed to the gills with jarring tonal shifts that remain unexplained even years later. However, imagine if somehow that became like the mold for Malf and my careers, you know? That we just kind of like got together and made movies that people didn't really love that much or thought were bad or incoherent. Man, this is... Malf, I'm sorry, it's not meant to be a dunk on you. It's meant to be a metaphor, and it's kind of coming out wrong. I think I would be completely okay with that. If Malf phoned me up and was like, hey, we're making Dragon Slayer Doppelganger 4 in, you know, Tahiti, I'd be like, I'm in. What do you want me to do? Play a guy with like an eye patch? Yeah, you're the guy with the eye patch who speaks in an accent that is not where he's actually from in real life. I can do that. I can do. Okay, just probably shouldn't have even popped this, but we did form kind of a nice little protective barrier. Getting a little light on HP, which is why I'm super stoked to see this, actually. And we will just take that. Did we see an item room on this floor? That's a scary thought. Sorry, I was humming, I Would Do Anything for Love just a moment ago. Yo, talk about good luck. Oh my god. You know, okay, don't shoot the messenger. We probably did not see an item room on this floor, but I'm out anyway. Or did? No, we saw Lemon Mishap. That's right. Screw you. I apology recanted. I was talking about it on stream literally yesterday, but I was like, man, I don't know if there's a cheesier lyric in rock music than in Meatloaf's I Would Do Anything for Love. And I love the song. Meatloaf as a human being, I don't know. He's made some troubling comments about climate change that I can't agree with. And I think he should keep his mouth shut about stuff like that. However, at the same time, I'm also like, why was a journalist asking Meatloaf about climate change? What do you expect? You know, I'm not, it's not really victim blaming. I'm more just like, you know, maybe that space in your newspaper would be better served if you, like, asked the scientists, so the scientists could educate people. Instead, you got Meatloaf saying some ridiculous stuff. Maybe even glorifying it to a subset of the audience, but anyway, that's not for me to judge. But when the female call-in response in that song goes, would you show me every fantasy I've got? Would you hose me down with holy water if I get too hot? It's just such a perfect, like, over the top. Like, that's... Alright, I'll take it. I was really looking for the heart. That's basically like a Spinal Tap style lyric that was actually played straight in a song that I'm pretty sure went to #1 in 8 countries. It's actually, to be honest, I think that I Would Do Anything for Love might be the first song I ever remember seeing a music video for. If you want something to contextualize how old 31 years of age is, I have early memories of, we're not gonna permanently take this, by the way, but it is tempting to me. I have early memories of, brand new Meatloaf music videos on Much Music, which is our version of MTV. See, 31 doesn't seem that old until you say something like that, and you're like, alright, if you say so. You know what I've been thinking about lately? Now, I am not a neurologist or a cognitive scientist, in case you weren't aware. Let's see if we can get more Two of Diamonds here while we're talking. Ooh, it's very good. Yeah, we could probably buy some Spirit Hearts, but we don't have to buy any Spirit Hearts. But if they're half price, everything's half price. What are you talking about if it's half price? There you go. That's good stuff. I was thinking about how weird memory is, you know? So you don't start forming memories, I think. I mean, most people's first memory is probably when they're around like 3 or 4 years old, I think is fair to say. I don't think I'm too off base with that. I'm pretty sure my first memory is when I was around 3, okay, or so. But I don't know if even like my first memories are real first memories or if it's a story. This is another thing that's weird about memory that I was not going for. Like, I have memories, but when I really think about it, you know, the memories from 1992 when I was 3 or 4 years old, and I don't really know if I actually remember it or if like a family member told me a story of something I did as a kid, and then like a year later I was like, oh, I remember that, but maybe what I'm actually remembering is being told the story in the first place, you know? But regardless, you know, you start having memories you can remember at like 3 or 4 years of age. What is that like? Surely, like, I can't conceive of a consciousness without memory, I guess is maybe an interesting way to describe it. You know what I mean by that? Like, you just wake up one day and you're like, I know what I had for lunch yesterday. That can't be how it works, right? Like, does anybody know and can explain to me? Like, I'm assuming it's not like you wake up one day and memory is switched on. I actually, and this is completely hypothetical, you know, I'm just pulling theories out of thin air. I almost wonder if there isn't like a memory, like escape velocity, where you're making memories as a kid when you're younger than that, but you're not making them very well, so they only hang around for like a little while. But as your brain gets better and better at it, eventually you get to the point where you make memories that last long enough so that you actually remember them, and the next time you remember them, they get stored a little bit longer, and so on and so forth. You know what I mean? I'm not suggesting that's actually what's happening, because I know enough science to know that a theory is not just... Like, doctors or, you know, oncologists are not just sitting around being like, trying to come up with cures for diseases. Like, what if we tried peanut butter? Did we try peanut butter yet? Anybody try mineral oil? Like, that's... I think that's I shudder to think, but I believe to some extent that is how some people think, like, medical researchers work. Next, we're gonna try Cheetos dust on the perineum. Anybody tried... You know, you get the idea. So I recognize that I'm not trying to suggest that is how it works. I'm just like, in my head, that's how my completely based on nothing arbitrary model for memory works. Because I can't conceive of a situation where, like, a child is like, if you ask a 2-year-old, what'd you have for lunch yesterday? They're not gonna say, I don't know, I think. Maybe they will, I guess, I don't know. And then, like, the next day, the memory module is turned on, and they're like, it was Kraft macaroni and cheese, father. Don't you remember, you simpleton? Incubus is great. I think we, with the nail, would be remiss if we didn't take that. Let's get out of here, but spend on the next floor. So those are my present thoughts on this subject. Just been thinking about it. I don't know, maybe it is different. I don't know, I always feel like just being... The idea of living as a human being without having the subject or the concept of memory, or without being able to access, like, long-term memory, or even memory that's older than, like, a month, is just... It's weird, right? When you think about, like, what would your life be like if you didn't remember what happened 6 months ago? They'd be making... Chris Nolan would be making movies about you. I'm not trying to make this, like, an ableist thing, either. I'm more just, like... You know, it's a thought experiment. Really. But anyway, that's just what's been percolating in my brain. So this has been my shower thoughts lately. I'm gonna need something to think about during this run, because, I mean, we're seriously just stomping. We might as well buy this. And you know what? I'll purchase a key as well, just to be on the safe side. So this floor's deal with the devil, oh my god, is completely irrelevant. But we would love to get that one last guppy item we need. I'm gonna be honest, this run's kind of up in Fantasyland for me. I don't remember. Did we get a respawn, or was that on our was that on our last run? It must have been on our last run. I'm not trying to push this one. Like, we really got nothing to push for. It's kind of killing it right now. And by kind of, I mean like extraordinarily killing it. Let's do what we always do and walk around in that room and then take nothing. You know how it goes. We do not have a respawn. Yeah, just things I've been thinking about. Not just because we're, like, having a child, but... It's strange, you know? I've been an adult for so long, at this point. Probably closing in on half my life of having the right to vote. I remember what it was like to be a teenager. I can conjure in my head the template of how I felt as a teenager. It was a dizzying combination of both bravado and anxiety and a sense of like the teenage years are for some people, at least when I think back, nostalgic. Really, like a lot of them were just insanely boring. But there's a sense of like potential and promise, right? That's like right now, I can't really do much of anything. Nobody takes me seriously, really. And maybe I can drive, but I don't have a car, or I can't drive, and yada, yada, yada. I have a curfew at like 11 p.m. or something, or, you know, I don't know, maybe 9 p.m., depending on what kind of household situation you got going on. But there's also that kind of romantic inclination that's like next summer or like 2 years from now. Like, this is a temporary situation, and then after that, it's into the great wide open, a rebel without a clue, right? I can conjure all of that. I do not at all remember what it was like to be 10 or 7 or I want to draw a distinction. I remember what happened. I have memories from those years, and the memories happened to me. I'm saying this as if they're traumatic, but I just mean like any anecdote. They happened to me, but at the same time, in memory, it's like I'm watching them happen to another person. It's like I'm watching them happen to a child actor. I don't really have anything else. I wish I had some kind of sentiment to wrap it all together at the end. I really don't, but just what I've been thinking about lately. I think you're many different people at many different points of your life, but certainly, you know, 10-year-old versus 31. There's a big difference. I just, you know, It's also very weird for me. I don't know if you guys, I mean, if you're around the same age and you have a similar family situation, you might be going through this. The older I get, the more my parents become like my peers, right? Which is very strange for me, because, like, they're my friends, but also they've, like, changed my diapers, which is whatever, but also, like, witnessed what would be some of my most embarrassing moments of my lifetime, you know? Like the time I went to junior kindergarten, and on day one, why wouldn't you even look at the deal with the devil? It's because we're telling a touching anecdote, okay? Get over it. Like the time I went to junior kindergarten, and my kindergarten teacher called my mom and was like, "You're gonna have to pick Ryan up." My mom was like, "What happened?" And she's like, "He got some poop on his shirt when he went to the bathroom." You know? And now we're like going out and having like a couple of glasses of wine together and talking about, you know, important issues. But also I'm like, man, the whole time I'm looking at them like, they remember that time I got poop on my shirt. I guess it's like, you can never have no matter how equal or as much like friends as you become with your parents, there's always like, I mean, and it's not a bad thing, you can spin it into a good thing for sure, but there's always that layer of also like, you know, they're my parents, which means they, you know, love you more than they love themselves maybe even, but also simultaneously there's that kind of mortifying stuff where you're like, do they remember this? Do they remember the time I drew all over our couch when they were out shopping? And then when they came back, they said, did you draw on the couch? And I said, no. And they said, well, who did? And I said, I think it was my dad's business partner. I can't believe I didn't get away with that one. I thought that was the perfect crime. My dad's 55-year-old business partner came over to our house and just defaced our couch for no reason whatsoever. But in my childhood brain, I was like, it's a he said, she said situation where I guess we're going to have to take this one to a grand jury. Objection, hearsay. I'm sorry, he's got you there. It is hearsay. What if the business partner was mad about businessy stuff? He could have retaliated by, for example, defacing your couch, Your Honor. Anyway, it's just strange, right? I mean, it's a little different, because, like, your best friend, even if you've had a best friend since elementary school or younger even, like, you've been through a lot of stuff together. You've probably got embarrassing memories of each other, but you were also both at the same magnitude of embarrassment when it happened. One of you was probably more embarrassing than the other. And if you're watching this with your friends, you guys are looking at each other right now going like, yeah, it's you. Wait, what? But you're both, it's not like one of you was like 30 and had a PhD and then the other one was like 9. I hope. So it's, as you get older, you're like, we remember each other's embarrassing stuff, but there's like a mutually assured destruction. If you bring up the embarrassing stuff, I'll bring up the embarrassing stuff. But with your parents, they were operating in a position of relative adult sobriety when you were a child and were basically drunk all the time. I don't mean to suggest that you'd been drinking as a child, just that, you know, you couldn't be held responsible for your own actions due to the condition your mind was in. Just I'm not saying it's a bad thing or a thing that needs fixing. It's just one of those bizarre things about a human interpersonal dynamics. Dude, we're gonna get 4 items here. And we don't need a single one. But let's do the little things right. Grab this, and I grab this as well. Make sure to grab the unicorn shell. It's not a shell, but if it were, the rhyme would have been sick. Anyway, I mean, these are fast and beautiful runs. For now, thanks for watching. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you did, click the like button. It helps out a great deal. It helps out more than anything else you could do. But I will see you in the comments as well. Thanks for watching.